Ever since my younger brother Makoto was brought back, I've gradually been pushed to the margins of the family. To make it up to him, my father immediately gave him my position and entrusted him with the project I had poured my heart and soul into. When the project went wrong, my sister gave false testimony, and the blame for his mess was placed squarely on my shoulders. He was all alone, and my wife showed him an unexpected amount of care, insisting that as an older sister-in-law, she should act like a mother and take care of the brother I had neglected for so long. Furious and unwilling to let this go, I confronted him, but he punched me down the stairs, breaking my leg. Just when I thought my mother would speak some words of justice, she instead advised me not to be petty. Even my daughter thought it would be better if Makoto were her father. In my hospital bed, consumed by anger and frustration, I had an unexpected awakening. It turns out I was merely a villainous supporting character in an inspirational novel. All my struggles and efforts, all the sacrifices I made, were just for the male lead, Makoto, to reap the rewards. Realizing my fate, I handed my wife and daughter over to Makoto, voluntarily gave up my inheritance, and left the country. But when everyone thought I was a defeated man, abandoned by family and friends, I returned to the country with a bang and decisively took away Makoto's rewards. Chapter 1. When I first awakened, my so-called family members were still blaming me. My parents, who had always been fond of me, now stood by my younger brother. My mother said, "Makoto didn't do it on purpose. Besides, you were too harsh when you argued with him. It's understandable that he panicked. Both of you are at fault, and you only had a small injury. Let's just let it go. I'll take charge and move past it. Don't dwell on it anymore." She looked at me with a kindly expression, hoping that I would be like I used to be, grudging, but still obediently going along with her wishes. And just as she hoped, I replied in a flat tone, "All right." Her hand paused for a moment before she comforted me. "I know things haven't been easy for you. When you get out of the hospital, I'll have the housekeeper make you something delicious." I nodded in silence. My sister Freya furrowed her brows, looking at me. "I'll help with the project. You don't have to take responsibility for Makoto anymore. Is that okay? Don't blame me. Makoto is still new and can't handle that much pressure. Plus, there were mistakes in your handover, too." I distinctly remembered that the documents I handed over to Makoto had everything meticulously detailed. What file to check, which folder, which page. But Makoto, in his usual hasty way, only skimmed through things, leading to a crucial error in the decimal places of the data. Of course, I didn't argue with Freya anymore. I simply grunted in response and stayed silent. There was nothing to argue about. She knew the problem was Makoto's, but to cover for him and shield him from the consequences, she planned to throw the whole blame onto me. After my awakening, her so-called selfless elder sister persona became laughable to me. My cold responses seemed to make them uncomfortable. My father spoke up. "Rest well, and once you're out of the hospital, come back to the company and help Makoto. He's just joined, and he needs to make a name for himself. As his older brother, you should be more generous and lend him a hand. Once he's settled in the company, you can resume your position." I looked at my father curiously, wondering if he still remembered how proudly he used to claim that he treated all his children equally. When I joined the company, he insisted that I start from the ground up. I had no objections at the time and worked my way up from the grassroots for 8 years to get to where I was. But when Makoto mentioned joining the company, my father immediately gave him my position, letting him take over the project I was about to finish. I smiled at my father and said, "There's no need to resume my position. When I'm out of the hospital, I'll handle all the handover work." Father furrowed his brows and said, "George, what are you doing? Are you messing with us?" I shook my head and replied calmly, "No, I'm just tired. I plan to resign." At that moment, Makoto, who had been acting like a meek little chick, stood up and said, Bro, I know my qualifications aren't enough for this position, and having you assist me is a waste of your talents. You don't need to resign. I should be the one to resign. As for what happened with you being pushed down the stairs, although it was accidental, it was still my fault. I've been feeling guilty about it. I came here today to apologize. I didn't expect it to make you even more upset. I'm sorry. He looked apologetic, but his eyes were full of calculation. Unfortunately, everyone except me saw only his expression. Father immediately reprimanded me. I've taught you to have a broad heart since you were young. Is this how you treat your brother? Mother shook her head sadly. Makoto was kidnapped when he was born and has suffered outside for so many years. It's only natural that we focus more on him now that we've finally found him. George, why do you have to turn against the family over something like this? Freya looked at me coldly and said, Dad, Mom, don't waste your breath. George is acting like a spoiled young master, thinking everyone should revolve around him. You've been so patient, and does he even care? He's selfish. I barely managed a smile, inadvertently recalling how things used to be before Makoto came back, how warm my interactions with the family had been. But that warmth no longer stirred any emotions within me. It seemed this was a side effect of my awakening, no longer swayed by unnecessary emotions. I calmly replied to them, Yes, you're all right. But I'm tired now. Is that okay? Freya snorted and was about to speak, but my father interjected. All right, George needs rest. Let's head home for now. Once you're out of the hospital, we can talk properly as a family. Mother hesitated, then looked at me and said, I'll come see you again in a few days. Makoto turned to the woman beside him. Sister-in-law, please take good care of my brother. And Lily, remember to be obedient and not make your father angry, okay? Freya also said, Sister-in-law, sorry for the trouble. Hearing the voices of the two siblings, I looked up to see Freya patting Willow's arm, while Makoto crouched down and gently admonished Lily. Looking at the disdain and disapproval in their eyes as they glanced at me, I suddenly realized that, in the midst of their silence, I had forgotten that my so-called wife and daughter were still in the room with me. She asked, What's there to pack? By the way, Lily and I rushed to pick you up, but we didn't have time to eat. Lily walked over and awkwardly said, I want shrimp noodle soup. This was her way of making up with me. Whenever we had an argument, she would soon come to me and ask for something she wanted to eat, and I would smile and go to the kitchen to cook it for her. Here I was, a vice president of a large corporation managing so many employees, yet for this mother and daughter, I would wash my hands and cook, learning how to make meals. In the end, I had nothing and ended up in a miserable, tragic situation. What was it all for? But by now I was also hungry, so I went into the kitchen, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw them both relax. 10 minutes later, I brought out a bowl of noodles and placed it on the table. Willow froze and asked, Just one bowl? Lily stopped in her tracks and asked, Did you put chili in it? And chicken drumsticks? Willow scolded, How could you forget that Lily doesn't eat spicy food or chicken? I took a sip of soup and smiled. She doesn't eat it, but I do. I'm hungry too, so I thought it was fine to fill myself first, no problem. The expressions of the mother and daughter immediately darkened. Lily said stiffly, I'm not eating it. Willow shot me a cold glance and said, I'll take Lily out to eat. I ignored their retreating figures and happily finished my bowl of noodles. Then I went back to packing. Once I was almost done, I called my lawyer to discuss the divorce. I definitely couldn't use Wong's legal team. That would mean letting everyone know I was planning to divorce before I was ready. It was better to find someone I trusted more. Chapter 4. Willow and Lily didn't come home that night, but I wasn't bothered. After all, Willow was there as the mother, so there shouldn't be any problems. The next day, I went to the lawyer's office as planned. During the meeting, I received numerous calls, all from those so-called family members. I just muted the phone. When I finished the meeting and came out, it was already dusk. I randomly picked a number and called back. As soon as the call connected, I heard my mother's anxious voice. She said, "George, yesterday was Makoto's birthday and we forgot to pick you up from the hospital. That's wrong. But you can't just ignore your wife and child like that. If it wasn't for them going to find Makoto, I wouldn't even know you're not taking care of them." I was speechless. The nanny was off that day and there was no one at home. What else could I do? Besides, they aren't broke. They can go out to eat by themselves. She sighed. "Listen to Mom. Don't stay mad at your daughter-in-law. Makoto feels guilty too, and you're making him uneasy. Your dad and sister don't want to see him upset." I replied, "Does that include you too?" She said, "George, don't say that. Both you and Makoto are my sons." "For Mom, the palms and backs of my hands are both the same," I asked in a neutral tone. "So what do you want me to do?" She answered, "Just apologize first and make it up to them. Then explain to Makoto so he can feel better." "What's the point of arguing over right and wrong in a family?" I laughed. "Fine. But I've been busy lately. I'll go see them in 2 or 3 days." She said, "You child." I didn't wait for her to finish, hanging up the phone. I was thinking, it's time to get the divorce over with. That would at least make things easier for them. When I got home, Willow and Lily were already there. When they saw me, their faces were as cold as ice. Willow was the first to speak up. "I didn't come back last night with Lily, and you didn't even care. Are you out fooling around?" I didn't want to explain that I wasn't out fooling around. I just said, "Well, you're the mother, right? I figured you'd take good care of her. Besides, you've said before that Lily thinks I'm too strict as a father, and she's afraid when she sees me. You wanted me to give her some space, remember?" Both mother and daughter froze. They must have remembered that time when they didn't come home late, and Willow's calls went unanswered, almost making me call the police. Until I saw Makoto's post on Moments, I felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped on me from head to toe. The two of them had spent the day at a newly opened amusement park with Makoto, and in the evening they had dinner together. Strangers thought they were a family of 3 and even offered to take a picture for them. Makoto's post had a photo of the 3 of them together with a caption saying, "We were mistaken for a family of 3, LOL. He was using this to silence me, leaving me no excuse to confront him. After all, he had already said it was just for fun. After 10 p.m., I finally heard the sound of them opening the door. When I sharply questioned them, Willow replied disdainfully, "Lily needs her personal space, so don't be so controlling. And you didn't need to be in such a hurry. I'm the mother. Of course I'll take care of Lily." Lily didn't speak, but her expression mirrored her mother's, cold and impatient. I shook off my thoughts and smiled at them. "I hope you had fun. I'll go wash up now. By the way, I've already eaten out. If you haven't, you can order takeout. The nanny won't be back until tomorrow." Lily suddenly spoke up nervously, saying, "There's a movie coming out next month that's perfect for a family of 3 to watch. Next month, by mid-month, if all went smoothly, Willow and I would have passed the cooling-off period and gotten the divorce certificate." I smiled at Lily and said, "I'm busy, but you can ask Uncle Makoto. He should be happy to take you." Lily stood there, a hurt expression flashing in her eyes. Her temper flared and she said stiffly, "You're right. I'll go with Uncle Makoto then." With that, she stormed off to her room and slammed the door. Both mother and daughter were fond of slamming doors. Witnessing this, Willow angrily said, "George, have you had enough? Lily was trying to make amends and you had to act all sarcastic. She's still a child. When did your heart become so small?" Then her tone shifted, and she looked exhausted, saying, "George, I know you're mad at me. I can change. Lily will change too. Please don't act like this, okay?" If she had said this any day before I went to the hospital, I would have told myself to let the past go. After all, they were my wife and child. I should trust them. But now, it was too late. For the past 3 years, after every argument, I wanted to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with her. I just wanted to talk to her. But every time, Willow would inexplicably shift the topic and accuse me of not admitting my faults. In the end, it would always turn into her criticizing me, and Lily would bluntly tell me she didn't want to listen. If I wanted her to get closer to me, I had to learn from her Uncle Makoto on how to interact with her instead of being so strict. Now I had learned, but they weren't happy with it. She had always been gentle with me, but at that moment she marched over and scolded me furiously. "What did you say to Makoto that day? Why did he do this?" Her eyes burned with hatred as she continued. "He swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills." My father stared at me coldly and said, "I've approved your resignation. From now on, you have nothing to do with the Wang family. I won't argue with you about the money you've spent over the years, but don't expect a single cent from me in the future. All of the family assets will go to your sister and Makoto." Freya glared at me. "Don't even think about using the Wang name to make money. If I find out, I won't let you off the hook." I nodded. Over the years, the money I earned for the company far exceeded what the Wang family had spent on me, so I owed them nothing. And during my time working there, I had also made personal investments with the salary I earned from Wang, which allowed me to achieve financial freedom long before all of this. Suddenly, my mother broke down in tears again, sobbing, "George, why have you become like this? Do you know that Makoto wrote a suicide note saying he shouldn't have come back? When he was unconscious, he kept apologizing to you, saying he never wanted to take anything from you, that he didn't hate you. You two are brothers. Can't you forgive him?" I looked at my mother and thought, if Makoto were awake right now, he would surely be enjoying this moment. I rolled my eyes and turned to leave. But Willow stopped me. Her voice trembled as she said, "Wait, I can't live with a man like you anymore. I'll contact a lawyer in the next few days to draft the divorce agreement." Lily wiped her face and chimed in, "Yes, a man like that doesn't deserve to be my dad." She shouted angrily, "I don't want such a malicious person to be my father!" Those words were the final blow. Then she threw herself onto Makoto's bed again, crying, "Uncle, I was wrong. From now on, I'll only listen to you. I'll watch that movie with you. Just please wake up." I coldly replied to Willow, "No need to wait for those 2 days. I already have the divorce agreement ready. If you have time, you can check it over. If everything is fine, just sign it." "What did you say?" Willow's face turned pale. She looked at me in disbelief. "You already have the divorce agreement? When did you prepare it?" I smiled slightly. 2 days after I was discharged from the hospital. Willow's chest heaved as she stammered, "George, how dare you—" Freya couldn't tolerate my indifference any longer. She grabbed my left hand forcefully and shouted, "Go and apologize to Makoto. Don't stop until he wakes up, or I'll never acknowledge you as my brother again." I raised my right hand and shoved her away. Before she could say anything else, I frowned. "Miss Wang, my left hand was severely injured. I hope you won't grab it so tightly." Freya froze, her expression changing instantly. My parents also looked shocked, their faces turning pale. I knew they remembered. Years ago, when our family was attacked by enemies after the bankruptcy, it was my left hand that was shattered while protecting them. Since then, I couldn't lift heavy objects or move with agility. Freya's lips trembled as she stepped back, her face as white as a ghost. I looked at them and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving now." As I was about to exit the room, I thought I heard a whisper, "George." The next day, Willow and I went to the Civil Affairs office to finalize the divorce. When she returned home with Lily the night before, she saw me waiting with the printed divorce agreement. in hand. She had no way to avoid it. And because of her harsh words before, she could only grit her teeth and sign it. After leaving the civil affairs office, I immediately called a moving company to take away my already packed belongings from the house I had lived in for so many years. After the 1-month cooling-off period, we met again at the civil affairs office. I was the first to sign. Her hands trembled slightly. Suddenly, she threw the pen down in anger and yelled, "George, you're so cruel! To prove you don't care, you're even willing to abandon your own daughter." At this, the staff at the civil affairs office gave me strange looks. It was laughable. Now she was trying to claim the moral high ground and throw dirt at me. During this entire month, we hadn't contacted each other at all. Meanwhile, Makoto had been sending messages every day, boasting about how Willow had been caring for him and how Lily often visited him. To prevent Willow from focusing too much on Makoto and forgetting about the divorce, I made sure to remind her before the cooling-off period ended. Much later, I finally received her angry voice message reply. She said, "Don't worry, I'll be there." Bringing myself back to the present, I frowned and replied, "Aren't you happy that you can finally be with my brother?" Her face turned deathly pale. The energy drained from her, and she quickly signed the papers. We left the civil affairs office, and with a smile on my face, I said, "Goodbye, Willow," never to see her again. Chapter 08. 5 years later, Anna, our son, and I returned to the country. David, riding on my back, said, "Dad, are you tired? I can walk by myself." Anna smiled and added, "Your son's worried about you. Let me carry him for a bit." David wasn't heavy, so carrying him wasn't a problem, but I decided to give in and handed him over to Anna. Just as I did, a voice trembling with confusion called out, "Dad!" I turned around to see Willow and Lily standing there staring at me. It had been years since we last saw each other. Lily had grown taller, while Willow looked much more worn out. Willow's voice trembled as she said, "George, you're back." She stepped forward to grab my hand, but I quickly took a step back, avoiding her touch. That's when she noticed Anna beside me. "Who is she?" Willow asked, her eyes flashing with anger. I replied politely, "This is my wife, and this is my son." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You're married? And you have a child?" David tilted his head in confusion and asked, "Dad, who are they?" Lily retorted, "He's my dad, not your dad." Like an angry little lion, she rushed toward me, but I quickly stepped in front of Anna and pushed her back. She froze, tears welling up in her eyes. "Dad, don't you want me anymore?" she sobbed. "I was wrong, Dad. I shouldn't have believed that bad person. Please come back. I only want you as my dad. I won't trust anyone else again." Willow's eyes were red as she said, "Why didn't you give us the recording earlier? If I had seen it sooner, I wouldn't have married that bastard Makoto." At that moment, a Cullinan stopped by the roadside. The driver quickly got out and walked toward us. "Madam, I'm sorry I'm late," he said. I gestured for Anna to take David and get in the car first. She gave me a glance and whispered in my ear, "Come back soon or I'll get jealous." I shot her a look and replied, "My taste isn't bad enough to go back to someone like her." Once they got in the car, I turned to Willow and said with a smile, "I deliberately made sure you ended up with Makoto. How else could I justify the pain I went through all those years?" Willow's face went pale. "I'm sorry, George. I knew you wouldn't forgive me and Lily, but I still held on to a glimmer of hope." Lily was crying uncontrollably. She shouted, "Dad, I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance, just one last chance." I bent down, sighed, and said, "You used up that last chance 5 years ago. Let's just say our father-daughter bond was shallow, Lily. The only advice I have for you is to look forward, not back at things that can never be undone." She wanted to say more, but I didn't give her the chance. I turned and got into the car. A month after I left, Willow married Makoto, and my father officially appointed Makoto as vice president of Wang. I kept an eye on them, and after Makoto had secured his position and Willow got pregnant, I sent a recording to Wang's family and Willow's phone. It was of the conversation between Makoto and me in the garden of the old house. After sending it, I stopped caring about them until today. Once we got in the car, Anna, along with our domestic branch employees, greeted me, and she started reporting on the recent situation of the Wang family and Willow and Lily. In short, things hadn't gone well for them. After Willow learned the truth, she broke down. No matter how much Makoto begged her, she insisted on divorcing him. Even though she was pregnant, she chose to terminate the pregnancy. During an argument, Makoto missed a step and fell down the stairs, breaking his leg. Willow held a grudge against him for his actions and refused to call for help. By the time they got him to the hospital, his leg was beyond saving, and he would walk with a limp for the rest of his life. Makoto tried to get Wang's family to intervene, but they saw him as an enemy after receiving the recording. His mother avoided him, his father cruelly mocked him, saying that a disabled man didn't deserve to inherit the Wang family business, and Freya even kicked him out of the house. With nowhere else to go, he clung to the idea of not divorcing. But Willow grew more and more distant, even moving to another house with Lily. Filled with resentment, Makoto secretly sold confidential information he had collected about Wang and Liu companies to rival firms. Both companies suffered significant setbacks in crucial projects, their cash flows were cut off, and they nearly went bankrupt. Now both companies were barely holding on, having to sell assets and downsize. Makoto, on the other hand, was sent to a care facility by the furious families of both companies. Freya spared him from the asylum, but the facility he was sent to was a beautiful, peaceful place, though he would never leave. He would likely remain there for years, and eventually, he might even end up in the asylum after all. When I heard this, I chuckled. Well, I should thank Makoto. Without him, we wouldn't have gotten this advantage. Anna and I had come back to handle the acquisition of Wang and Liu's assets. Anna smiled, wrapping herself around me, and said, "So it's all thanks to you, right? Didn't you sell their company secrets?" She then remembered something and looked worried. "I saw your daughter crying and begging today. You didn't soften, did you? You didn't, right? You can't be soft-hearted." I rubbed my forehead, exasperated. "Are you done yet?" Glancing at our son, who had already fallen asleep, I softened and said, "David's my only child?" She snorted. "Well, that's better," I teased. "Wife, if you're so worried, why don't we have more kids? Let's have a few more." "Oh, wait. I'm sorry, wife." Before I could finish, Anna angrily pinched my arm. Chapter 09. During my time back in the country, my father, mother, and Freya all came to see me. Each time I avoided them. Eventually, I couldn't avoid them anymore and had to face them. Years had passed, and my parents had aged significantly. Even Freya had a few strands of white hair, clearly showing how much they had been burdened by the company's issues over the years. My mother grabbed my hand, tears in her eyes. My father sighed deeply, and Freya hesitated. But in the end, she didn't say a word. They apologized, begged for my forgiveness, admitting that they had been blinded by their own judgments and hadn't realized how wicked Makoto truly was. They said they hoped I would return and that the family business would still be mine to inherit. I politely declined. I'm here today to tell you that my connection with you ended 5 years ago. I hope you won't come looking for me anymore. If you do, I can't guarantee how much Wang's assets will sell for. Without waiting for their reaction, I stood up and left. Behind me, I could hear their regretful sighs. It felt like a lifetime ago. After that, they never came to find me again. As for Lily, I don't know what Willow told her, but they never appeared in front of me again. However, on the day Anna, David, and I were leaving for M Country after handling the acquisition, our bodyguard informed us that 5 people, 4 adults and 1 child, had been secretly watching us at the airport. The bodyguard was someone Anna had hired, worried that these people might harass me again. David, a bit anxious, asked, "Are they the people who said they were from Dad's family?" I smiled and pinched his cheek. "They're just unrelated. People." After we entered the boarding gate, I received a few messages from unknown numbers on my phone. I glanced at them. They all contained words like, "Forgive me, I'm sorry, and I'll always wait for you." I didn't open them in detail and simply deleted them all at once. The people who abandoned me are part of yesterday's past. But it's okay. I looked at Anna and David. At least fate allowed me to find the one who truly loves me.